Before we begin, do me a favor. Open your phone screen time settings. Go to the last 7 days. Look at the total. Really look at it. Now multiply that by 52. That's how many hours you'll give to your phone this year. Convert that to days. Full days. Waking days where you could have been learning something, building something, connecting with someone actual. Most of you just saw a number that would horrify you if it represented anything else. If you spent that many hours gambling, you'd call it addiction. If you spent it watching someone else live their life, you'd call it pathetic. But you spent it scrolling, so you call it staying connected or just relaxing. Here's what you need to understand: you think you're watching this video because you chose to. You didn't. The algorithm served it to you at the exact moment your dopamine was depleted from the last video. You didn't choose to be here. You were directed. You're not alone in this, we all live inside this system. But Confucius gave us tools to step outside it. And by the end of this video, you'll have a Confucian 30-day plan to reclaim your mind. 2,500 years ago, Confucius taught that attention is the foundation of all human development. That sustained focus is what separates someone who becomes who they're capable of being from someone who just drifts through life reacting to whatever's in front of them. He built an entire philosophy around cultivating the ability to direct your mind deliberately, to resist distraction, to develop depth rather than breadth. And in 2025, most of us can't do it anymore. Not because we're weak. Because we're up against something Confucius never imagined: algorithms designed by the smartest engineers in human history, backed by billions in venture capital, with one purpose: make sure you never look away. Instagram doesn't want you to have friends. It wants you to have followers. TikTok isn't helping you relax. It's training you to need stimulation every 8 seconds. YouTube's autoplay isn't serving your interests. It's serving the interests of advertisers who need your eyeballs for another 11 minutes. And you, right now, are losing. Your attention span is shorter than it was 5 years ago. Your ability to sit with difficult ideas is weaker. Your tolerance for boredom is non-existent. Your capacity for sustained thought is eroding in real time. This isn't about being anti-technology. This is about recognizing that what's happening to your mind isn't an accident. It's the result of deliberate design by people who understand your psychology better than you do. Confucius taught Zhai wisdom, or specifically, the ability to see clearly what's actually happening rather than what you want to believe is happening. So let's see clearly. You're not just checking your phone 57 times a day. You're compulsively seeking dopamine hits because you've been trained to. You're not keeping up with friends by scrolling through their curated performances. You're watching strangers perform intimacy whilst your actual relationships atrophy from neglect. You're not learning by consuming productivity content. You're bathing in the feeling of self-improvement whilst your actual behavior remains unchanged. And every day this continues, you're becoming less capable of the sustained attention that makes human flourishing possible. I've done this too. None of us are immune. The difference is recognizing the pattern and choosing to interrupt it. This video is going to show you what Confucius understood about attention, why the algorithm is winning, and what you can do about it that doesn't involve another productivity app or digital wellness feature designed to keep you engaged slightly more mindfully. Because here's the truth: those features won't tell you, you can't moderate your way out of this. You can't use social media mindfully any more than you can smoke cigarettes mindfully. The product is designed to override your intentions. Confucius would tell you, if something is destroying your capacity for sustained attention, and sustained attention is the foundation of human development, you don't moderate it. You eliminate it. Let's talk about how. The Confucian foundation: attention as cultivation. Here's what Confucius understood: that Silicon Valley is banking on you forgetting your character isn't what you intend. It's what you practice. Every single day, through thousands of small actions, you're training yourself to be someone. The question is, are you training yourself deliberately, or are you letting an algorithm train you? Confucius called this Shen self-cultivation. The daily practice of becoming who you're capable of being through sustained, deliberate effort. And the foundation of all cultivation is attention. The ability to direct your mind where you want it to go and keep it there. In the Analects, when disciples asked Confucius how to cultivate virtue, he didn't give them abstract principles. He gave them practices, rituals, daily actions that required sustained focus. Study these texts, not by skimming them, but by sitting with them until you understand. Practice music, not by passively listening, but by engaging deeply enough that it shapes your inner state. Observe ritual propriety, not by going through motions, but by attending carefully to each gesture until the form teaches you something about yourself. All of it required one thing: sustained attention over time. Because Confucius knew something that modern neuroscience has now confirmed: you don't build character through insight. You build it through repeated practice. And repeated practice requires the ability to keep your attention on something even when it's boring, difficult, or unrewarding in the moment. The Analects puts it directly: when seeing a worthy person, think of equaling them. When seeing an unworthy one, examine yourself. That's attention training. That's learning to direct your focus deliberately rather than letting it be captured by whatever's loudest. This is where most people misunderstand Confucian ethics. They think it's about following rules. It's not. It's about training your attention so thoroughly that right action becomes natural rather than forced. If you can't control your attention, you can't cultivate yourself. If you can't cultivate yourself, you can't become the person you're capable of being. It's that simple. Now here's the problem: your attention isn't yours anymore. The algorithm's purpose: keeping you engaged. Let's be clear about what's actually happening when you open Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. You think you're choosing to use these platforms. You're not. You're being farmed. Every feature, every notification, every autoplay, every infinite scroll, every recommended for you, exists for one reason: keep you engaged long enough to serve you advertisements. You are not the customer. You are the product. Your attention is the crop. And the harvest happens every single day. The engineers who built these platforms are brilliant. They understand operant conditioning. They understand variable reward schedules. They understand that uncertainty: will this next video be interesting? Will someone have liked my post? Is more addictive than certainty. They've built systems that exploit the exact same neural pathways that make gambling addictive. And then they've deployed those systems on 3 billion people simultaneously. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is documented fact. Former executives from these companies have gone on record saying they deliberately designed features to be as addictive as possible. The red notification badge? That's not neutral design. That's a psychological trigger designed to create anxiety that's only resolved by opening the app. The autoplay countdown? That's not convenience. That's removing the moment where you might choose to stop. The algorithmic feed that never ends? That's not personalization. That's ensuring you never reach a natural stopping point. And it works. It works so well that the average person now checks their phone 57 times per day. Spends over 6 hours looking at screens. Can't sit through a 10-minute meeting without reaching for their device. You think this is your fault? It's not. You're not weak-willed. You're up against a system designed by people who understand your brain better than you do, with resources you can't match, whose entire business model depends on you never developing the sustained attention that would let you resist. But here's what they can't account for: Confucius. Because Confucius wasn't designing products to exploit human psychology. He was designing practices to strengthen it. And his framework for attention, developed over decades of observation and teaching, is exactly what you need to take your mind back. The cost, what you're actually losing. Before we talk about solutions, you need to understand what this is costing you. Because until the cost is clear, you won't have the motivation to change. Most people think distraction is a time problem. I waste too much time on my phone. That's true, but it's not the real cost. The real cost is that you're becoming incapable of depth. You can't think anymore. Not really. Not in the way that Confucius meant. Not in the way that builds genuine understanding. When was the last time you sat with a difficult idea for an hour? When was the last time you read something challenging and stayed with it even when your mind wanted to wander? When was the last time you were bored for 20 minutes and didn't reach for your phone? If you can't remember, that's not because you haven't had the opportunity. It's because you've trained yourself out of the capacity. Every time you feel boredom and immediately grab your phone, you're training yourself that discomfort must be immediately medicated. Every time you start reading something difficult and switch to something easier, you're training yourself that sustained effort isn't worth it. You're not just wasting time. You're eroding your capacity for the sustained attention that makes all meaningful human activity possible. You can't connect anymore. Not genuinely. Not in the way that builds actual relationship. Confucius taught that real friendship, what he called you, requires face-to-face presence and vulnerability. It requires sustained attention to another person. It requires the ability to sit with someone in silence and actually be there, not half-checking your phone whilst pretending to listen. How many of your conversations now happen with phones on the table? How many times have you been talking to someone and noticed they're not really listening because they're thinking about their notifications? How many times have you done that to someone else? You think you're staying connected through social media. You're not. You're maintaining the performance of connection whilst actual intimacy atrophies. 300 followers is not the same as 3 friends. It's not even close. But you're spending hours on the former whilst neglecting the latter. You can't create anymore. Not really. Not with depth. Not with the sustained focus that produces anything worth making. Every creative person knows this. Depth requires extended periods of focused attention. Writing, painting, coding, composing, anything meaningful requires hours of sustained focus without interruption. And most of us can't do it anymore. Our tolerance for the discomfort of creation has been destroyed by the easy pleasure of consumption. You've watched 200 hours of productivity content and your life hasn't changed. Because watching people talk about discipline isn't the same as practicing it. Confucius didn't watch motivational speeches. He practiced ritual action daily until it shaped his character. You're collecting inspiration like Pokemon cards whilst your actual capabilities decline. You can't be alone anymore. This might be the deepest cost. Confucius taught that solitude, genuine solitude, not just being physically alone while scrolling, is essential for self-cultivation. The analect states, the person of Ren is watchful in solitude. In solitude, you face yourself. You think your own thoughts. You develop your own perspective rather than absorbing everyone else's. But most of us can't do it anymore. We can't sit on a train for 10 minutes without reaching for distraction. We can't lie in bed for 5 minutes without checking our phone. We can't eat a meal alone without watching something. We're never truly alone. And therefore we're never truly ourselves. We're always consuming someone else's thoughts, someone else's perspective, someone else's life. And slowly, so slowly we don't notice, we lose the ability to generate thoughts rather than consume them. This is what's actually at stake. Not time. Capability. the fundamental human capacities that make meaningful life possible. Let's recap what we've seen so far. The algorithm is designed to capture your attention and never return it. You're losing your capacity to think deeply, connect genuinely, create meaningfully, and be alone with yourself. These aren't minor inconveniences, they're the foundations of human flourishing. And the worst part? You probably read that section whilst half thinking about checking your phone. That's how deep this goes. Confucian Principle 1, Li, Ritual as Attention Training. So how do you fight back? How do you reclaim attention from a system designed to steal it? Confucius's first answer, Li. Ritual propriety. Now, most people hear ritual and think of religious ceremonies or formal occasions. That's not what Confucius meant. Li is any structured, repeated action performed with full attention. The way you make tea. The way you greet someone. The way you begin your day. These are rituals. And when done with attention, they train your mind. Here's what Confucius understood: your attention is a muscle. It can be strengthened through practice. And ritual is the practice. When you perform a ritual properly, when you attend to each small action, when you do it slowly enough to notice what you're doing, you're training sustained attention. The tea ceremony isn't about tea. It's about learning to direct your mind to a simple task and keep it there. To notice the temperature of the water, the smell of the leaves, the sound of pouring. To be fully present with something mundane until the mundane becomes profound. Modern life has eliminated almost all ritual. You don't make tea. You grab a coffee whilst checking email. You don't eat meals. You consume food whilst watching videos. You don't have morning routines. You wake up and immediately check notifications. Every moment where ritual could have trained your attention has been replaced by consumption. Confucius would say, if you want your attention back, build it back through ritual. Practical application? Pick one daily activity. Just one. Make it a ritual. Morning coffee. Make it properly. No phone. No music. No podcast. Just you, making coffee, attending to each step. Boil the water. Whilst it's boiling, don't check your phone. Just wait. Notice how uncomfortable that is. That discomfort is your degraded attention capacity. Pour the water. Watch it. Smell it. Hear it. Sit down. Drink it. Taste it. Notice the temperature. The bitterness. The way it changes as it cools. 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes of sustained attention on one simple task. Do this every morning for 30 days. Here's what will happen. At first, it will be excruciating. Your mind will scream for stimulation. You'll think of 100 things you should be doing. You'll want to grab your phone constantly. That's not restlessness. That's withdrawal. That's your attention muscle realizing it's been atrophied and it hurts to use it. But if you persist, if you do this ritual every single day, your attention will strengthen. The discomfort will lessen. You'll start noticing details you've never noticed. You'll start experiencing the present moment rather than just passing through it. This is Shen, self-cultivation, in its most basic form. Training yourself through deliberate practice. Modern scenario, the morning doom scroll. You wake up. Your hand reaches for your phone before you're fully conscious. You spend the next 40 minutes scrolling through news, social media, messages, email. By the time you get out of bed, you've consumed 100 pieces of information, felt a dozen different emotions, and reacted to problems that aren't yours. Your attention is already shattered. and you haven't even started your day. Confucius would ask, who's in control? You or the device? The Li response? Phone stays in another room overnight. Not on silent. In another room. When you wake up, sit up. Plant your feet on the floor. Notice 5 breaths. Just 5. Inhale. Exhale. Count them. Stand up. Make your bed. Properly. Corners tucked. Pillows arranged. Attend to it. Then begin your morning ritual, whatever you've chosen. No phone until after breakfast. Not just check it quickly. Not at all. This is Li applied. Structure that trains attention before the algorithm gets access to you. Will it feel extreme? Yes. Because you're addicted. And addicts always think moderation is possible. It's not. Not with systems designed to override moderation. That's not connection. It's performance. Confucian Principle 2, Zhai, Simplification and Removal. Confucius taught a principle that most translations render as purification but is better understood as simplification, Zhai. It means removing what's unnecessary so you can focus on what matters. Ancient Confucian scholars would periodically retreat from society to simplify their lives, removing distractions, eliminating excess, focusing only on essential practices. This wasn't religious fasting. It was attention management. They knew that accumulation of possessions, commitments, stimuli, fragments attention. And fragmented attention prevents cultivation. Applied to your digital life, Zhai means one thing: delete the apps. Not reduce usage. Not set time limits. Not use them more mindfully. Delete them. I can hear the objections already. But I need Instagram for work. But I need to stay informed. But I need to keep in touch with people. Do you? Really? Or is that what you tell yourself because you're afraid of withdrawal? Here's the test: delete Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook from your phone. Not log out. Delete. For 30 days. If you genuinely need them for work, access them through a browser on a computer at scheduled times. Twice per day. 15 minutes each. With a timer. If you genuinely need to stay informed, read a newspaper. 1 per day. Without commenting on it. If you genuinely need to keep in touch, text people. Call people. See people. Actual communication, not performative presence. But I'll miss things. You will. You'll miss drama. You'll miss outrage. You'll miss the feeling of being constantly informed about things you can't influence. You'll miss the dopamine hits. And in the space left behind, you'll find something Confucius considered essential: quietness of mind. The constant stimulation isn't making you smarter or more connected. It's making you reactive. You're spending your days responding to other people's priorities, other people's thoughts, other people's manufactured urgency. Zhai creates space. And in that space, you remember what your own thoughts sound like. Now, I need to clarify something about the Confucian approach here. Confucius valued the mean, zhongyong, balance between extremes. But the mean isn't compromise. It's alignment with what's actually appropriate. If moderation keeps you enslaved to systems designed to capture your attention, then elimination isn't extreme, it's the mean. It's the appropriate response to inappropriate manipulation. Practical application: the 30-day deletion. Delete social media apps from your phone. All of them. Delete news apps. Delete email from your phone if possible. Delete anything designed to pull your attention. Keep messaging apps for actual friends. Phone calls. Maps. Calendar. Delete everything designed to make you scroll. For 30 days, experience what it's like to have your attention back. Here's what will happen. Days 1 to 3, panic. You'll reach for your phone 50 times and find nothing there. It will feel like losing a limb. Days 4 to 7, boredom. Crushing boredom. You'll be in queues, on trains, waiting for meetings to start, with nothing to do. And you'll discover you've forgotten how to do nothing. Days 8 to 14, restlessness. You'll feel like you're missing everything. Everyone else is still plugged in. You're standing outside the stream of information. It will feel like social death. Days 15 to 21, adjustment. The panic subsides. The boredom becomes tolerable. You start noticing things. Real things. The person next to you on the train. The sky. Your own thoughts. Days 22 to 30 are clarity. You'll realize how much mental space you've reclaimed. You'll read more. Think more. Actually be present in conversations. You'll experience what Confucius meant by Yi, clear seeing. After 30 days, evaluate. What did you actually miss? What did you gain? Most people who do this properly don't reinstall the apps. Because they realize what they lost wasn't worth what they gained. This is Zhai. Simplification that creates space for cultivation. Modern scenario, the algorithm knows you better than you know yourself. You open TikTok just for a minute. 3 hours later, you're still there. You didn't choose any of those videos. The algorithm chose them for you. And it was right. Every single video was exactly calibrated to keep you watching. It knows you better than you know yourself. It knows what triggers your curiosity. What makes you laugh? What makes you angry? What makes you keep watching? And it uses that knowledge to farm your attention for profit. Confucius would ask, if something understands you better than you understand yourself, and uses that understanding to control your behavior, are you free? The answer is no. You're not. You're being managed. Zhai is the only response. You can't outthink an algorithm. You can't moderate your way out of a system designed to override moderation. You can only remove yourself from it. Confucian Principle 3, Du Shu, Sustained Study. Here's where Confucius becomes truly demanding. Because reclaiming your attention isn't just about what you remove. It's about what you replace it with. Du Shu, sustained study, was the core of Confucian self-cultivation. Not skimming. Not consuming content. Genuine study. Sitting with difficult texts until you understand them deeply. In the Analects, Confucius says, learning without thought is labor lost, thought without learning is perilous. Both are required. You have to engage deeply with ideas, learning, and you have to think about them carefully over time, thought. This is the opposite of how most of us consume information now. We skim articles. We watch summary videos. We collect insights like trading cards. We feel informed. We're not. We're just exposed to a lot of information we haven't actually processed. Real learning, the kind that changes how you think, requires sustained attention to difficult material over time. It requires reading something, thinking about it, reading it again, arguing with it, applying it, revising your understanding. It requires what you've lost the capacity to do. Confucius would spend weeks on a single chapter of an ancient text. Not because he was slow. Because depth requires time. Understanding requires sustained engagement. And most of us can't do it anymore. We can't read a long article without skimming. We can't read a book without our mind wandering. We can't sit with a difficult idea without reaching for something easier. Not because we're stupid. Because we've trained ourselves to expect novelty every 30 seconds. And study is the opposite of novelty. Study is returning to the same material repeatedly until it reveals depth. Practical application: 1 book, 30 days. Pick 1 book. Not a comfortable book. Not a business book full of bullet points. A difficult book. Philosophy, history, literature. Something that requires effort. Read it for 30 minutes every day. No phone nearby. No music. No distractions. Just you and the book. You can't skim. You can't skip ahead. You read it carefully, and when you notice your mind wandering, you bring it back. 30 minutes. 30 days. 1 book. Here's what you'll discover. Week 1, it's exhausting. Your attention will fracture every few minutes. You'll read the same paragraph 4 times and retain nothing. This is what degraded attention looks like. Week 2, it gets slightly easier. You start actually processing what you're reading. Ideas start connecting. You remember things from earlier chapters. Week 3, you start looking forward to it. It's become a ritual, li and du shu combined. Your mind knows this is thinking time, not scrolling time. The quality of your attention improves. Week 4, you finish the book. And you've actually understood it. Not just exposed yourself to it, understood it. That feeling of deep engagement with ideas? That's what you've been missing. This is what Confucius meant by learning. Not accumulation. Transformation. Reading something deeply enough that it changes how you see the world. After 30 days, ask yourself, did 30 minutes of daily sustained reading produce more insight than 6 hours of daily scrolling? You know the answer. Modern scenario: productivity content addiction. You've watched 200 videos about productivity. You've got 17 browser tabs open with articles about focus. You've downloaded 8 apps that promise to make you more disciplined. And nothing has changed. Because you're treating the symptom, "I'm not productive enough," with more of the disease, content consumption. Confucius would say, stop learning about productivity and practice one thing productively. Stop reading about focus and focus on one task for 1 hour. Dushu doesn't mean consume content about cultivation. It means actually cultivate through sustained practice. The algorithm sells you the feeling of self-improvement. Confucius demands actual improvement through actual work. 1 is comfortable. 1 is hard. 1 keeps you engaged. 1 sets you free. When was the last time you read a book without checking your phone? When was the last time you finished something difficult simply because it was worth understanding? Confucian Principle 4, Shen, guarding your solitude. This is the principle most people have completely lost. Shen, literally cautious when alone. It means, what you do when no one's watching shapes who you become. Confucius taught that self-cultivation happens primarily in solitude. Not in public performance. Not in social display. In the private moments when you're alone with yourself. And in those moments, you have a choice: do you practice virtue, or do you indulge weakness? Modern translation: when you're alone with your phone, do you strengthen your attention through deliberate practice, or do you surrender it to the algorithm? Most people can't be alone anymore. Not truly alone. Not without filling the space with content. You're on the toilet? You're scrolling. You're in bed? You're watching something. You're cooking? You've got a podcast playing. You're walking? Music in your ears. You're never with yourself. And therefore you never face yourself. You never think your own thoughts without someone else's thoughts crowding them out. Confucius would call this a crisis. Because Shen, the ability to guard your attention in solitude, is where character is actually formed. The Analect puts it clearly: the superior person is watchful over themselves when alone. In public, you perform. In solitude, you become. And if your solitude is filled with algorithmic content, what you're becoming is someone who can't tolerate their own company. The brutal truth. If you can't sit alone for 20 minutes without reaching for your phone, you're not connected. You're dependent. You're using constant stimulation to avoid facing something about yourself. Maybe it's boredom. Maybe it's anxiety. Maybe it's the realization that you're not becoming who you wanted to be. Maybe it's just the discomfort of being a human alone with their thoughts. But whatever it is, medicating it with constant content doesn't make it go away. It makes it worse. Because you're training yourself that discomfort is intolerable, that you always need external stimulation, that you can't be enough for yourself. Confucius taught the opposite: cultivate the ability to be alone with yourself. That's where strength comes from. Practical application: deliberate solitude. Once per day, for 20 minutes, be alone. Completely alone. No phone. No music. No podcast. No book. No distraction of any kind. Just sit. Or walk. Or lie down. But be alone with yourself. Let your mind wander. Let thoughts come and go. Don't try to meditate or be productive. Just be. The first 10 times you do this, it will be uncomfortable. Your mind will race. You'll think of 100 things you should be doing. You'll want to grab your phone so badly it will feel like a physical need. That discomfort is important. Sit with it. Don't fix it. Let it be uncomfortable. Because what you're doing is learning that you can tolerate your own company. That your thoughts are worth having. That you don't need constant external stimulation to be okay. This is Shen. Guarding your solitude. Using alone time to cultivate rather than distract. After 30 days of this practice, you'll notice something: the world seems slower. Quieter. You'll notice things you've been missing. You'll have thoughts you haven't had in years. You'll remember what it feels like to be yourself. That's not mysticism. That's reclaiming mental space that's been occupied by algorithms. Modern scenario: background noise always. You wake up, podcast on. Breakfast, YouTube video. Commute, music. Work, Spotify in the background. Lunch, scroll through social media. Evening, Netflix autoplay. Bed, TikTok until you're too tired to keep your eyes open. From waking to sleeping, you're consuming content. Your brain is never alone. Your thoughts are never just yours. Confucius would ask, when do you become yourself? When are you practicing Shen? When are you cultivating character in solitude? The answer is never. You're always in input mode. Never in processing mode. Never in becoming mode. Shen demands intentional solitude. Not as punishment. As necessity. Because without it, you're just a collection of consumed content pretending to be a person. Let's recap. Li trains your attention through ritual. Zhai removes what fragments it. Shu replaces shallow consumption with deep engagement. Shen develops your capacity to be self-directed. These aren't separate practices, they're for aspects of reclaiming your mind from systems designed to capture it. The mechanism, why this actually works. Let's talk about why the Confucian approach actually works against algorithms when every other method fails. Most digital wellness advice treats this as a moderation problem. Use your phone more mindfully. Set healthy boundaries. Take screen-free Sundays. All of that assumes the problem is your self-control. It's not. The problem is that you're fighting a system designed to defeat your self-control. You can't moderate slot machines. You can't smoke cigarettes mindfully. You can't use heroin with healthy boundaries. And you can't use engagement-optimized platforms in moderation, because they're designed specifically to override moderation. This is why app-based solutions fail. Use this app to limit your time on other apps is asking the wolf to guard the henhouse. You're still in the attention economy. You're still being farmed, just slightly more efficiently. Confucian cultivation works because it operates on a completely different principle. You don't fight the algorithm. You rebuild your attention from the ground up through practices that strengthen it. Ritual, train sustained focus through repetition. You're literally exercising your attention muscle every day. Zhai, our simplification, removes the source of harm entirely. You're not fighting temptation. You're eliminating it. Shu, sustained study, replaces shallow consumption with deep engagement. You're training your brain to expect depth instead of novelty. Shen, guarded solitude, develops your ability to be self-directed rather than algorithm-directed. You're learning to generate thoughts rather than just consume them. These practices work because they address the root problem, degraded attention capacity. You're not managing symptoms. You're rebuilding capability. And here's the key insight: this isn't quick. It takes 30 days minimum to see results. Probably 60 to 90 for the changes to feel natural. That sounds long. But compare it to the alternative, spending the rest of your life with degraded attention, unable to focus, unable to think deeply, unable to cultivate yourself, whilst telling yourself you've got it under control. The algorithm isn't going anywhere. The platforms aren't going to voluntarily become less addictive. The problem will only get worse. But your attention can get stronger. Your capacity for depth can be rebuilt. Your ability to direct your own mind can be reclaimed. Confucius proved it works. 2,500 years of scholars proved it works. And it'll work for you if you're willing to do the practice. What you'll gain, that the algorithm can't give you. Let's be specific about what you get back. And here's where we need to talk about something Confucius considered the ultimate goal: Ren. Ren is usually translated as humaneness or benevolence, but it's deeper than that. It's your capacity to care, to be genuinely present with others, to respond appropriately to what's actually in front of you, not what an algorithm has primed you to see. The algorithm fragments your Ren. It makes you reactive, judgmental, performative. It trains you to have opinions about everything whilst caring deeply about nothing. Confucian cultivation restores Ren by restoring attention. Because you can't genuinely care about something you're not genuinely attending to. You'll be able to think again. Not just react to other people's thoughts. Not just consume insights. Actually think. Sit with a problem for an hour and work through it. Develop your own perspective instead of adopting someone else's. Generate ideas instead of just curating them. The algorithm gives you the illusion of thinking. You feel informed, you feel like you're engaging with ideas, whilst actually preventing any genuine thought. Confucian cultivation gives you back the real thing. You'll be able to connect again. Not through screens. Not through performative likes. Through actual presence. When you can sit with someone without checking your phone. When you can listen without half your attention somewhere else. When you can be bored with someone and not need entertainment, that's when real connection happens. That's Ren restored. That's your capacity to genuinely care about the person in front of you, not the notifications in your pocket. The algorithm promises connection and delivers isolation. You're surrounded by content about other people's lives whilst being fundamentally alone. Confucian cultivation teaches you to be present enough for actual relationship. You'll be able to create again. Anything worth making requires sustained attention. Writing, coding, painting, building, all of it requires hours of focus without interruption. When your attention span is 8 seconds, you can't create anything of depth. You can only consume. Confucian cultivation rebuilds the attention span that makes creation possible. You'll be able to become who you're capable of being. This is what Confucius actually promised. Not happiness. Not success. The cultivation of your full potential. And that requires sustained attention over years. It requires the ability to work on something when it's difficult, boring, and unrewarding in the moment. It requires staying with the practice long enough for it to transform you. The algorithm keeps you in an eternal present of novelty and stimulation. You never develop. You just consume. Confucian cultivation is the opposite: slow, deliberate transformation through sustained practice. These aren't abstract benefits. They're concrete capabilities you've lost and can rebuild. Modern scenario: the reclaimed evening. Old pattern: finish work. Collapse on sofa. Open phone. 3 hours disappear into scroll. Go to bed feeling vaguely guilty and unsatisfied. Repeat. New pattern: finish work. Make tea, ritual, li. Sit and drink it, solitude, Shen. Read for 30 minutes, study, do shu. Cook dinner with attention. Eat without screens. Spend evening on one chosen activity, writing, learning an instrument, go to bed having actually done something. The second pattern requires more effort. It's less immediately comfortable. But it's the difference between being farmed by an algorithm and cultivating yourself. Which one makes you more capable? Which one is building the person you want to become? You know the answer. Here's a story that might help. I know someone who followed this practice. A software developer, ironically enough. 29 years old. Spent 6 hours daily on social media and YouTube. Couldn't read for more than 5 minutes without checking his phone. Felt increasingly anxious and unable to focus on his actual work. He deleted everything. Started with morning coffee as ritual. Added 30 minutes of reading philosophy. Forced himself to take 20-minute walks without headphones. The first 2 weeks were hell. He described it as feeling like I'd lost a limb. But by week 4, something shifted. He read 3 books that month, more than he'd read in the previous 3 years. His anxiety decreased. His work improved. Most importantly, he said, I remember what it feels like to have my own thoughts. That's what this practice offers. Not perfection. Not some enlightened state. Just the restoration of basic human capacities that algorithms have eroded. The 30-day practice. Right. Here's your practice. Not forever. Just 30 days. 30 days to prove to yourself that your attention isn't permanently destroyed. Week 1, Li, ritual. Pick one daily ritual. Morning coffee, evening tea, whatever. Do it with full attention. No phone, no distractions, just the ritual. 5 minutes. Every single day. This will feel absurd. It will feel like a waste of time. Your mind will scream for stimulation. Do it anyway. Week 2, Zhai, simplification. Delete social media apps from your phone. All of them. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. Delete them. Keep your morning ritual from week 1 going. This week will be harder. You'll reach for apps that aren't there 50 times a day. Let the discomfort exist. Don't medicate it with other distractions. If you absolutely must access social media for work, do it on a computer, at scheduled times, with a timer. Twice per day, 15 minutes maximum. No exceptions. No, just checking quickly. Deleted means deleted. Week 3, do shu, sustained study. Add 30 minutes of reading. 1 book. No skimming, no phone nearby, no music. Just reading. Continue your morning ritual. Keep social media deleted. By week 3, you'll notice something: your attention span is improving. Reading 30 minutes will feel less impossible. Your mind will wander less. This is your attention muscle rebuilding. Week 4, Shen do, guarded solitude. Add 20 minutes of deliberate solitude. No phone, no music, no book. Just you, alone with your thoughts. Walk without headphones. Sit without distractions. Be bored. Let your mind wander. Continue all previous practices: morning ritual, no social media, daily reading, now plus solitude. By week 4, you're doing roughly 1 hour per day of deliberate attention practice. 1 hour out of 16 waking hours. That's 6% of your day. The algorithm was getting 6 hours. You're giving yourself 1. That's not extreme. That's bare minimum. What happens after 30 days? Evaluate honestly. How do you feel? How's your attention? Can you focus better? Can you sit still? Can you be alone with yourself? Most people report significantly improved focus, better sleep, not scrolling until midnight, more mental clarity, actual thoughts of their own, reduced anxiety, more time for things they actually care about. And they realize the algorithm wasn't giving them anything worth keeping. Then you choose. Some people reinstall apps. Most don't. Because they've experienced what it's like to have their attention back, and they're not willing to surrender it again. If you do reinstall, you'll know immediately whether you can control it or it controls you. If you can't go more than 3 days without falling back into old patterns, delete again. This isn't about perfection. It's about honesty. Can you control your relationship with these tools, or are they controlling you? Most people discover they can't. And that's fine. That's not weakness, that's the reality of fighting systems designed to override your control. The Confucian response is simple: if something destroys your capacity for self-cultivation, eliminate it. Not moderate it. Eliminate it. The hard truth about digital minimalism. Here's where most digital wellness advice fails: it assumes you can have it both ways. Stay on the platforms but use them mindfully. Keep the apps but set healthy boundaries. That's like telling an alcoholic they can stay in the pub as long as they drink mindfully. It doesn't work. Because the platforms are designed to defeat mindfulness. That's their purpose. Every feature, every notification, every autoplay, every recommendation exists to override your intention to stop. The engineers building these systems are brilliant. They've studied your psychology. They've tested thousands of variations to find the most addictive versions. They've deployed machine learning algorithms that adapt to your specific triggers in real time. You're not going to outsmart them. You're not going to willpower your way to healthy usage. You're going to lose that fight every single time. This is why Confucian Zhai, simplification through elimination, is the only approach that works. You're not fighting the algorithm. You're removing yourself from the battlefield. And yes, that means sacrifice. You'll miss things. You'll be less informed about trending topics. You'll have fewer dopamine hits. You'll be less available for immediate response. But you'll gain something the algorithm can never give you: self-direction. The ability to choose what you pay attention to, rather than having attention extracted from you by systems designed for that exact purpose. Confucius didn't teach moderation with things that destroy cultivation. He taught elimination. If something is preventing you from becoming who you're capable of being, remove it. Completely. Without compromise. That sounds extreme. It's not. What's extreme is spending 6 hours per day giving your attention to algorithms whilst telling yourself you've got it under control. Modern scenario: that mindful social media user. You've set screen time limits. You've turned off notifications. You've scheduled social media breaks. You're using the platforms mindfully. And yet, you still check your phone 50 times per day. You still lose hours to scrolling. You still can't read for 30 minutes without your mind wandering. You still reach for your phone the moment you're bored. The limits don't work because you ignore them. The breaks don't work because you cut them short. The mindfulness doesn't work because the platform is designed to override it. You're not failing. The approach is failing. Because you can't moderate something designed to be unmoderatable. Confucius would ask, if you can't control it, and it's harming your cultivation, why are you still trying to keep it? The answer usually is, because everyone else is on there. Because I'll miss out. Because I need it for work. None of those are real reasons. They're justifications for staying in a system that's destroying your attention. Everyone else is getting less capable together. Missing out on manufactured urgency isn't actually missing out. And if your work requires you to be on addictive platforms, that's a problem with your work, not a reason to accept degraded attention. Confucius vs. the algorithm: who wins? Let's be clear about what you're actually up against. On one side, algorithms designed by the best engineers in human history, backed by billions in capital, refined through millions of data points on what keeps you scrolling, deployed on platforms with 3 billion users, with their entire business model depending on capturing your attention. On the other side, you. One person. With degraded attention. With habits built over years. With social pressure to stay connected. With FOMO telling you you're missing everything important. If you fight that fight on the algorithm's terms, staying on the platforms but trying to use them less, you lose. You've always lost. You'll always lose. But here's what the algorithm can't fight: elimination. It can't defeat you if you're not there. It can't tempt you if you've deleted it. It can't manipulate your psychology if it doesn't have access to you. And in the space you create by removing it, Confucian cultivation can begin. Ritual works because algorithms can't touch physical practice. Your morning tea ritual happens in the real world. No algorithm can interrupt it unless you let it. Zhai, simplification, works because algorithms only exist where you allow them. Delete the apps, they cease to exist in your life. Shu, sustained study, works because books don't interrupt themselves. A physical book doesn't autoplay the next chapter or recommend related content. It just sits there, requiring sustained attention. Shen, guarded solitude, works because algorithms can't follow you into genuine solitude. Turn off the device, and the algorithm disappears. This is why Confucian cultivation defeats algorithmic manipulation. It operates in a completely different space. The algorithm fights for your attention in the digital realm. Confucius rebuilds your attention in the physical realm. The algorithm promises you'll become more connected, more informed, more productive if you just engage a bit more. Confucius promises you'll become more capable, more directed, more yourself if you focus on sustained practices. The algorithm gives you metrics, likes, followers, views, streaks. Confucius gives you capacity of attention, depth, wisdom, character. One is measurable and empty. One is unmeasurable and real. Who wins? Whoever you give your time to. The algorithm gets your 6 hours, it wins. Confucius gets your 1 hour of deliberate practice, he wins. Most people are currently giving the algorithm 6 hours and giving cultivation 0. Then wondering why they feel empty, distracted, and increasingly incapable of sustained thought. The maths is simple. Your attention is finite. Every hour given to the algorithm is an hour stolen from cultivation. Every day you don't start reclaiming attention is another day the algorithm shapes who you're becoming. And what you're becoming is someone who can't think, can't connect, can't create, can't be alone. Someone who's been domesticated by systems designed to profit from your distraction. Confucius offers the alternative: become someone who can direct their own mind. Someone who can sit with difficulty. Someone who builds capability through sustained practice. Someone who's self-directed rather than algorithm-directed. It's not easy. The Confucian path never was. But it works. And 2,500 years of practitioners proved it works better than any alternative. The social cost, and why it's worth it. Here's something no one tells you about reclaiming your attention: people will be annoyed with you. When you delete social media, you become less available. When you stop responding to messages immediately, people notice. When you're not keeping up with trending topics, you're out of the loop. Some people will tell you you're overreacting. That you're being extreme. That you can just use it in moderation. These are people who are still captured by the algorithm and uncomfortable with anyone escaping. Some people will stop inviting you to things because you're not on the platforms where plans get made. Some will drift away because your friendship was maintained through digital presence, not actual connection. This will feel like loss. Confucius would say, it's clarification. The people who drift away when you're not digitally available were never actually connected to you. They were connected to your digital presence. Your performance. Your availability. Real friends, level 3, level 4 in the framework we discussed in the previous video, will adapt. They'll text you directly. They'll call. They'll make actual plans. Because they value you, not your digital accessibility. The rest will fade. And that's fine. Because maintaining surface connections was exhausting you. It was stealing time from people who actually matter. This is applied to relationships, appropriate response based on what people have actually proved, not what they perform. You're not being antisocial. You're being selective. And Confucius taught that selectivity in relationships is wisdom, not coldness. Modern scenario, the group chat exodus. You've got 14 group chats. Most are noise, people sharing memes, complaining, making plans you're not included in. But you stay in them because leaving feels like social rejection. When you delete social media apps, you'll need to address the group chats too. Most aren't actually connecting you to anyone. They're just notification streams that fragment your attention all day. Leave them. Not dramatically. Just, I'm cutting back on screen time, so I'm leaving the chat. Message me directly if you need me. Some people will understand. Most won't respond at all, proving the group chat wasn't actually about connection. The few who reach out directly? Those are your actual friends. Invest in them. This is Zhai applied socially, removing what's excessive so you can focus on what matters. Will it feel lonely initially? Yes. Because you've confused constant digital presence with connection. But once you've experienced what actual connection feels like, conversations that require presence, friendships that require mutual investment, you won't want to go back. The permission this gives you. You're allowed to be less available. You're allowed to prioritize depth over breadth. You're allowed to let superficial connections fade so you can invest in genuine ones. This isn't antisocial. It's Confucian. It's recognizing that your attention is finite and should be given to people who've earned it through proved reliability, not people who expect access because they know how to tag you. What Confucius would say about your phone. Let me be direct about what Confucius would say if he saw how most of us use our phones. He'd say, you're voluntarily surrendering the only thing that makes human flourishing possible. You're training yourself into incapacity. And you're doing it knowingly, whilst telling yourself you've got it under control. He'd say, you cannot cultivate humaneness, moral sensitivity to others, if you can't be present with others. And you can't be present if half your attention is on your notifications. He'd say, you cannot cultivate situational appropriateness, if you're always reacting to manufactured urgency rather than responding to what actually matters in front of you. He'd say, you cannot cultivate proper conduct, if you're performing life for an audience rather than living it with attention. He'd say, you cannot cultivate wisdom, if you're consuming other people's thoughts constantly instead of developing your own through sustained reflection. He'd say, you cannot cultivate trustworthiness, if you're always half present, always distracted, always breaking focus to check what else might be happening. Every single virtue Confucius taught requires sustained attention. And your phone is destroying your capacity for it. Not because phones are inherently bad. Because the apps on your phone are designed to capture your attention and never give it back. Confucius would look at your screen time data and say, this is the evidence of a life being lived for you, not by you. These are the numbers that show you've outsourced your attention to systems designed to profit from your distraction. And then he'd ask the only question that matters, what are you going to do about it? The uncomfortable answer? You have two options. Option 1, keep doing what you're doing. Keep telling yourself you'll use your phone more mindfully. Keep setting limits you ignore. Keep feeling vaguely guilty about your screen time whilst doing nothing about it. Keep losing the fight against algorithms designed to defeat you. In 5 years, you'll be more distracted. Your attention span will be shorter. Your capacity for depth will be weaker. Your ability to direct your own mind will be further eroded. And you'll still be telling yourself you've got it under control. Option 2, take the Confucian path. Eliminate what's destroying your attention. Build practices that strengthen it. Do the boring, difficult work of cultivation. Face the social cost. Experience the discomfort of withdrawal. In 5 years, you'll have rebuilt capabilities you forgot you had. You'll be able to think deeply, create meaningfully, connect genuinely. You'll be self-directed rather than algorithm-directed. One path is comfortable now and devastating later. One path is uncomfortable now and transformative later. Confucius taught, you become what you practice. What are you practicing right now? The final test. Here's how you know whether any of this has landed. Close this video. Put your phone down. Sit for 5 minutes in silence. No music. No distractions. Just you and your thoughts. Can you do it? Can you sit still for 5 minutes without reaching for distraction? If you can, you're in better shape than most people. If you can't, if the urge to grab your phone is overwhelming, if your mind races so badly you can't sit still, if 5 minutes feels impossible, then you know how serious this has become. That's not judgment. That's assessment. That's seeing clearly what's actually happening, rather than what you want to believe is happening. And once you see clearly, you can choose clearly. The algorithm wants you to believe you're fine. That everyone's like this. That this is just how modern life works. That you're managing it adequately. Confucius would say, sit in silence for 5 minutes. If you can't, you're not managing anything. You're being managed. What happens next is up to you. You can watch this video, feel briefly inspired, and then go back to exactly what you were doing. Most people will. They'll scroll for 3 more hours tonight whilst telling themselves they'll start tomorrow. Or you can start now. Close this video. Delete one app. Do one 5-minute ritual with full attention. Begin the practice of reclaiming what's been taken from you. It won't be comfortable. It won't be easy. It won't give you immediate gratification. But it will give you back your mind. And your mind, your attention, your capacity for depth, your ability to direct yourself, is the only thing you truly own. The algorithm is betting you won't do it. It's betting you'll watch this video, agree with everything, and then surrender your attention again within 10 minutes. Prove it wrong. 2,500 years ago, Confucius taught that human flourishing depends on sustained attention. That character is built through deliberate practice. That you become what you repeatedly do. He taught this because he'd observed human nature carefully. He knew that left to our own devices, we drift towards comfort and away from effort. We choose easy pleasure over difficult growth. We surrender to distraction rather than cultivate focus. And he knew that without intentional practice to counter these tendencies, people never develop their capabilities. They just react to whatever life throws at them, never directing themselves, never becoming who they're capable of being. He couldn't have imagined algorithms. But he understood the principle perfectly: if something fragments your attention, it prevents your cultivation. And if it prevents your cultivation, it must be eliminated. The algorithm is winning right now. It's winning because you're still fighting on its terms, still thinking you can moderate what's designed to be unmoderatable, still believing the next productivity app will finally give you control. It won't. You can't app your way out of an attention crisis created by apps. But you can Confucius your way out. Through Li, ritual practice. Through Zhai, our elimination of what harms. Through Du, sustained study. Through Shen, guarded solitude. These practices work because they rebuild capability rather than manage symptoms. They strengthen attention rather than restrict access. They cultivate self-direction rather than depend on external controls. They are not sexy. They're not new. They don't promise instant transformation or easy implementation. They just work. Slowly. Steadily. The same way they've worked for 25 centuries of practitioners who wanted to become capable rather than just comfortable. Your attention is the foundation of everything you could become. Right now, it's being systematically destroyed by systems designed for that exact purpose. You can keep losing that fight whilst telling yourself you're managing it. Or you can take the Confucian path, eliminate what destroys, cultivate what strengthens, practice daily until capability returns. The algorithm isn't going to get less manipulative. The platforms aren't going to voluntarily become less addictive. The only variable you control is your own practice. Start today. 1 ritual. 1 deletion. 1 30-minute reading session. 1 20-minute silence. 30 days from now, you'll either have your attention back, or you'll still be telling yourself you'll start tomorrow. Confucius spent his life teaching one thing: you become what you practice. What are you practicing right now? Stop practicing distraction. Start practicing attention. Your mind is worth reclaiming. Now check your screen time again in 30 days. Come back and tell me in the comments what changed. Because your story, your honest account of what it was like to take your attention back, might give someone else the courage to try. And if this video helped you see clearly what's happening to your attention, the next video explores the Confucian art of letting go, how to release guilt and resentment without losing responsibility or becoming morally numb. Because reclaiming your attention is only half the work. Learning to live with what you discover about yourself in that reclaimed space is the other half. Until then, put your phone down and prove your mind is worth more than an algorithm's profit.